Hello, everybody. Welcome to Career Conversations with Vumi Msweli. And today I've got the fire that is Luyanda Duma. If you don't know who she is, she's an HR enthusiast. She's a talent management founder. She is an MC. She's the founder of Stripped by Uluyanda. She's a budding philanthropist running the Malusi Duma Foundation. She's an influencer. She's your home girl from Emlazi and literally one of my favorite people on social media. I respect her so much. She makes me wish I was still in my 20s, literally. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, Luyanda Duma.
Boom, boom, boom.
Boom, 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 boom.
Thank you so much. I mean, I'm busy laughing as I'm hearing you speak. That was such a fire intro. I think it really speaks to the kind of energy that you and I have every time we engage. I'm super excited for this.
I'm excited too. So, fun fact, a lot of you might not know this, but Luyanda met me when she was still in varsity and I was speaking at a conference. So that shows you, hey,
Yes.
focus.
The kind of girl that I am.
You know? So I'm going to kick off with a rapid fire question where Luyanda, I'll ask you either or and you choose which is true for you. Okay, so at
Okay.
least the audience gets to know you. So,
Oh my word.
beach or bush?
Beach, bikini any day. Like
Is the
always.
end, of course. That's what you Android or
Oh,
Apple?
Apple.
Tea or coffee?
I mean, coffee.
Morning or night?
Night.
Sedan or SUV?
Sedan.
Wine or beer?
Whiskey.
This is going to be a
I
tough
don't drink
one.
either. Yeah, I don't drink either, but let's just go for wine.
Okay. This is going to be a tough one because you belong in both worlds. Entrepreneur or
Okay.
corporate?
Yo, this is a tough one. I mean, entrepreneur, but I still want the corporate experience. But entrepreneur any day. Yeah.
Flats or heels?
Heels, darling.
7 colors on a Sunday or a braai?
7 colors on a Sunday. Definitely my vibe.
Okay. Dinner. Dead or alive, you can invite anybody. Who is coming and what are you serving?
What? I've never thought of that. So, it's just one person,
Unlimited.
unlimited. Oh my gosh. Okay, cool. I think if I had to host a dinner today, I am definitely having you. I'm having Norma. I am having my mom. I'm having my older sister. And I am serving traditional food.
I am here. So Istanbul,
Lalela uJeqe,
Romantica.
Istanbul, Amanqina, inyama lomleqe, lalela all of that.
Yes,
Yes, that's
yes.
exactly. Yes, actually. Well, nigga
And
idea
this
again, man.
weather, actually. So for this, like, when Joburg, it's been a bit nippy, so I would not mind to check
It's
and
very, yeah, it's
Istanbul.
very nippy.
Homie. Awesome. So
Actually, yeah.
I know a lot about you. So I know, you came from Mlazi, you came through to Joburg, UJ, you did industrial psychology, you went through and you're like honors in HR. And even though some people might find it surprising, you initially wanted to be CIS vibes. Tell me about your career. I've done my research, hey?
You're embarrassing me because that's what happened.
Tell me a little bit about your career journey. So I'm interested to know, every journey is like this. Get like and you get. It is literally
Yeah.
valleys and mountains. What are some of those great career peak moments and what are some of your pits? And I'm especially interested to know, coming from an HR enthusiast to now managing some of the top talent in the country, tell me the journey.
Yes. So I think it started off as, like you said, initially, guys, I really wanted to be working in pathology, working in forensics, but also this was purely based on like the things that I was watching then. I had been addicted to crime, and that's exactly what was, fueling my fire in matric. So applied for, I think, genetics and some other degree at UJ, got conditionally accepted for that. And got to the next year and I'm supposed to go to Joburg and start my first day in varsity. I then stumbled across industrial psychology. And I always say that, as cliche that may sound, that degree chose me. I did not know from above soap what industrial psychology was. I knew that I loved people. I knew that I had a calling of some sort to help and develop people, but I didn't really know how to do that. And I didn't know how that would show up in my life. But I knew from a conversational perspective that a lot of people and my friends would come to me for advice, whether it be career or any issues that they may have. So I always knew that that was always something that naturally I could do, right? And then kwathi-ke sengiza industrial psychology. I remember the first class that I had was industrial psychology. And as the lecturer started speaking, I remember her, Dr. Furi, I was like, I am in the right place, right? So got introduced to HR, which we all know as a fire in higher career, I think, growing up. But when I got in there, it was so complex. And I'm all about, entering spaces where I feel like, one, I've got so much to learn, but also I've got the opportunity to redefine what that means for people, right? And kind of reintroduce whether it's careers or institutions or places that have or are seen in another light. So went straight into there, thrived in the career. I was a high performer in varsity. And I decided to honor then in HR. This is when now I knew exactly what it was and how I was going to use it. So that happened. Then I thought that I would probably want to be an HR director of a big corporate firm. Guys, things change, okay? And I think if there's anything that you need to learn, that as you progress in your career, you know more, you learn more, you get exposed to more, your interests may begin to change, right? And that's okay, because I think it scares a lot of people because they want to hold on to that dream that they had when they were still in varsity. And I'm here to tell you that the more you're exposed, the more you get to know more and learn more. There's so much that you're going to encounter, and allow yourself to dabble in those things, because it will then ultimately help you craft and build that career that you want for yourself. So doing that, I finished my industrial psychology honor, did my honors in HR. Straight after that, I started working. I think I was consulting in my final year of HR, because I thought, how can I use this degree that I have currently to empower myself and also just set foot and ngesiZulu sithi ukuzwa amanzi ngebhoko. So now I'm ngizozwa amanzi ngebhoko. Let me start dabbling in it so I can see if this is really something that is for me. Doing that, started consulting under a financial institution where I used to provide HR services. I was consulting for the likes of Pick and Pay, but then, and I had a whole lot of other small SMMEs, right? So from there, then decided to join Ibatu on a 9-to-5 basis as an employee, not consulting now, doing HR.
For those of you who are non-South African, Batu is like one of the leading sneaker brands. So it's literally, if you're thinking Jordan starting out, that's what Batu is in the country. So it's a crazy place to even be able to get into. So that was incredible.
Right? So that was, for me, mind-blowing. First peak, right? As somebody that was just consulting, had no idea how I was going to do this HR thing, because I knew deep down that I don't want to go intern, then do the normal, like, I just needed a challenge. And I knew that I might not get the challenge that I needed as early as that, at that stage in my career. So getting into Batu, where I can literally, I'm getting a blank canvas and they're saying, you have the skill, give us what we need, or do what you need to do. And hence why it was so important for me to sign up for things like HR Indaba, to follow women like yourself, Vumi, so that I knew exactly the kind of information and value that I was going to add in the business. Because ultimately, what's very important when you walk into any organization, or you partner, or you're an entrepreneur, or whatever it is that you do that has your name on it, my standard is excellence. My standard is value, right? So anything that I do, I need to constantly make sure that I add value. And I knew that I didn't have the experience, right? And I knew at some point the organization would get to a point where it required more.
Just so our listeners are aware, she's saying this, I didn't have the experience. You're thinking she's speaking as if she's in the same WhatsApp group as me in her 30s. We are 10 years apart. Luyanda's only 25, people. I'm 35. Just so we are clear. So she's saying, I didn't have the experience. Like, you're thinking, oh, So she has done a lot in 25 years. So just be cognizant of that.
With
Continue.
no experience. With minimal experience, but I knew what I wanted, and I knew that if I'm going to get this opportunity for me, let me make the most of it. And I think it's very important that I mention these things because people often think that careers or the right career or career that fulfills you is built off just getting that job in that big organization. But ultimately, it's the little things that you decide to do, the work that you decide to put in, that makes your career what you want it to be. So that was my first peak. Went in there, gave it my all until it got to a point where I felt like I've got nothing more to offer and the place has nothing more to teach me. Not in a bad way. It was a very small company. We all literally were doing the best that we could. But now we are on to 100 employees, and I knew that from a legal perspective, from an HR compliance perspective, there's so much more that the company then needed that I couldn't offer. And I also felt like I've exercised my basic skill in terms of HR. I also needed a challenge. And that is when, the organization and I parted ways amicably. And I'm glad that it happened the way that it did. And because now I can still go back there and say, hey, now I've got this skill. This is something that you can
And you see,
utilize.
I'm
And then
still
they'll
waiting
ask
for
you,
those yellow sneakers when they rebring them. Yabona nje, Boyanjan,
we
yabona.
are wanting to so I can always go back to Theo and get some advice, get a work opportunity simply because I was able to end that off in a very good way. So also another tip, as we are just chatting through my career, is that never burn bridges. You know what I mean? There are going to come a time where you would have wanted to stay longer in a place, but it's no longer serving you or you no longer serving it. And it's okay to let go, right? And sometimes you need to let go at that very moment before things get, you know, really, really bad. Because I could have forced to stay and say, no, I can't do this. Then make mistakes that are going to cost the company. And now it's just going to create energy, So moving from there, and I think when we look at the career, you know, downfalls or
Yeah.
career, pits or moments, for me, leaving that place was a pit because I think also I had been in that career for over a year and I think I had formed stability. And that's the thing about a 9 to 5. It will create that stability for you. And as much as I can say that I always knew that the day would come, I didn't know it was going to happen at that month and at that time when it happened. So it was really shaking for me to say, okay, I hadn't planned for it to happen this year. Where to from here, I had other options of staying. Obviously, there was something that was brought within, but there was something that just said in my spirit, move, 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 move. And I listened to that. I moved. I remember taking the month of November to kind of figure out what it is that I wanted to do. I had so much time in my hands. That's when I started my productivity stationery merch, which is called She Who Dreams, started doing planners. I just thought, let me use this time. It's already the end of the year to just, refuel and think about what it is exactly that I wanted to do, right? And whilst doing that, because I've got so many natures, I've got so many whispers as well. People constantly, when you have people that know you and vouch for you and can see the potential that you have, they will always whisper your next direction. So always make sure that you nurture those relationships, but also you are aware of those voices. I know that when I have a conversation with Vumi, there's something affirming that she's going to say to me that might lead me to my next big thing, right? And because I've always allowed myself to be in spaces where I constantly learn, I always get to develop and challenge my strengths and weaknesses, right? So that's exactly what I dedicated that 2 months to, and until I got to a point where I now formally registered a talent management organization where I get to literally manage one of South Africa's top talent, which is quite exciting for me because
So,
within the
ladies, so many
area.
people are saying, so Luyanda will never unpack. Let me unpack. So,
No,
y'all know.
I won't.
For those of
You
us
must
who wait
say
for Thursdays, because we know what time it is. Go put them down, no power. The wife, South Africa.
oh my
Yes,
gosh.
she's that girl. She is that girl where you're like, I'm going to need some of the Zulu boys. She can make that happen. She can make that happen for
Yeah, 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 yeah. If you've got the right money and you call me and you're nice, I will make it happen for you.
you.
So that is quite exciting, and it's funny because I remember when I was studying in HR, and I chose talent management as one of my majors and my honors, and I did research on it. I knew that this is something that I want. If I had to now work in a big corporate environment, succession planning or wellness, talent development, that's the space that I wanted to end up in. And funny enough, I never envisioned myself managing talent or developing talent in the, in the industry of the entertainment. And that came, at a moment where I felt so frustrated and I didn't know how to, because remember also, small companies don't have a budget and room for talent development at the early stages, right?
Yeah.
It's all about cleaning shop, because
Profitability.
obviously there were mistakes. Yes, there are many mistakes that have been done, cleaning shop, getting things right? So it was that. And even the companies that I used to consult for prior to IPA, to your trip, there's so many other companies that I've gotten the opportunity to consult for and train. Same thing as well. That's when I realized, Wuti, okay, I need to constantly work on myself until I get to a point where I'm able to then dabble in what it is that I'm really passionate about. So then the opportunity came where I was like, okay, Luyanda, please manage so and so. And obviously I was scared, but I'm like, okay, let me do it. And another career peak for me was that I got
I'm
in
going to
such.
stop you there. This is for me is a very big thing, and I say this to my coaches all the time. Courage is doing it afraid. So you saying in that moment, Uti, yes, I studied for this. I may have never had the experience, but I chose to do it anyway in Saba. You know, and
Ging and sure.
And there's a beautiful Zulu, I don't want to say it's an anthem, but it's a war cry that we say. We are basabana, ai, asibasabi,
siyabafuna.
And that for me is very profound. It's saying, are you afraid? Are you afraid of them? No, we're not afraid. We want it. So even in the face of fear, you must desire that fear and do it anyway. So
I love that you mentioned that. I love that you mentioned that because, especially when you're building a career outside of corporate or outside your 9 to 5, that's one of the key ingredients that you need, the courage to do things afraid, because there's nothing stable in this space, right? 1 minute you're doing this, 1 minute you're doing that, 1 minute this is working, the next is not. You don't have the luxury of something sustainable, from the income to the concept. Everything just changes so quickly. You in today, tomorrow you're not. Just by one tweet or one mistake, that any of my talents can do, it can cost my name, it can cost my business. So it's so important for you to be very courageous, but also very agile and flexible in your methods of work. You might say, I want to do things like this, but if industry and standard is saying we are sailing west namhlanje and no longer south, you must be able to say, okay, captain, let's switch the direction and go this way, right? And that's the thing about working
that for me. That for me is very, very important. So, I was born in the 80s. You were born in the 90s, and I'm this for me, and I think this is why I've enjoyed so much exposure to a lot of you younger ladies. So for me in my life, I've created a board of advisory and a personal career board that are mostly in their 50s. So when I start talking to you guys, I'm like, I must recalibrate. This is a new landscape, right?
Of course.
And for me, I'm very curious to know from your perspective. You're a person who reads avidly. You consume personal development content like there's no tomorrow. Who have you surrounded yourself with? Because as one of my mentors said to me, Vumi, you build a plane while flying it.
Yeah.
And that's what you're doing. You're literally carving niches that didn't exist prior. 10 years ago when I started my business, there was no career coaches. Now you look left, right, center, everywhere. But that was 10 years ago. You guys are doing this in a space of 2-3 years. Where what's an influencer didn't exist. Now there's influencers. Now there's talent management. For a platform that didn't exist 5 years ago. Who do you have from a personal career advisory perspective? Do you have that? And what is sort of the best piece of advice they've given you when you're facing something that didn't exist before?
That's such an amazing question. And like I could list right now people that I don't even know because I not even know Wuti, but I've never met and we've never had a conversation face to face, one on one.
Mm.
But because social media has allowed us to zone in into people's careers, and I'll say careers because you decide what you want to see or how you want to use social media. And for me, it's a business tool, right? I can never always sit down with a Vumi to have coffee and ask for advice, but I can tune into her live sessions that are speaking to areas of discomfort, areas of development, or if I just need a different thought piece. So it's so good that my board of advisory now does not only consist of people that I have access to that I can call, but it also consists of women that I aspire to become like or walk journeys that they have walked. So use social media wisely to learn from the people that are giving you that information and access and mentorship and coaching that you wouldn't have had you not followed them, but also if you don't know them personally. So by following the right people, I've got so many women that I can mention on social media. If you want to know, you can go see everyone that I follow. But everyone that I follow, really, there's something that I learn from them in their different, careers and in the different and areas of expertise. Secondly, the one person that I would call first when I panic, when I think of something, is my brother. And the reason why I will call my brother specifically is because I know he's the one person that will constantly remind me, Guti, listen, you're young, you can make these mistakes, go for it. So by the time that I get to a Vumi, I get to a Sihle, I get to a Norma and Nicolette. These are women that inspire me and women that coach me. And whenever I need to make a decision, I'll run it past them. Before I go to those people, I'm already confident and I know for sure, Guti, this is what I want. And once I know for sure, I already have plans. So it's just a matter of saying, what are you thinking about me pivoting A, B, and C, but not coming to a mentor to say, hey, I want to start a company, but not knowing what kind of company I'm going to start, how
Mm.
much money I need, who may they know that might get me to that person. You know what I mean? So it's first, it starts with you. Before you can even get advisory for somebody else, you need to be very clear and very sure about what it is that you want to trial. So I do that for myself. I speak to my brother. From there, I'll then look at the people that I have access to say, who is the right person that could help me with this specifically? I know if it's HR, I know who to go to. I know if it's more entrepreneurship, I know who to go to. If it's more personal branding and the influencing side of things as well, I have somebody there as well. So always make sure that there are people that you are looking at for inspiration and direction in every area of your interest.
I love that. Um, so we speak, in the spaces we find ourselves, we've realized how important is what you're talking about, having people who
Mm,
support us, having a space where we can recenter. And I
yeah.
know for me, one of the places I love to go to, just as my closer friends would say, this mamele,
Yeah,
is
yeah, 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 yeah.
ngiyaqala khona iklaba ngimtuba, and I'm like, okay,
Uyayilanda.
no one cares about Vumi, CEO, whatever. Zonke ziyashona zifuleni, zonke
Mm.
zalusa iy'nkomo, and
Azilime ziyetsheni.
ziwe ziyetsheni zonke. It makes me come back to who I am at the core, and it's one of my favorite places in
Mm.
the world. What is your favorite place in the world?
Oh, home. Home. Underbig. Like, mase ngisuke eGoli driving down. Sekufika kuleya off-ramp yase-Howick, ngivele ngibone kahle ukuthi ngangena ezweni elincane, ngakhohlwa iy'nkinga zomhlaba, because it is so peaceful ngendlela engachazeki. And if you don't have that space where you go back and recuperate, and that place that makes you forget about everything, even your own title and accomplishments that will tend to get into your head, Maula, because remember, relevant, it's what you've done, right? It's what you've
Mm.
acquired, it's your title. And you constantly have to show up as someone. It's either the influencer today, it's the talent manager tomorrow, it's the HR enthusiast. And it comes with a lot of pressure, right?
Mm.
So when I go home, it's none of that. Because as much as my parents will always make fun of me and say, I thina besingazi ukuthi uyi-celebrity. Because manje masihambe endaweni kuthiwa, umama kaLuyanda, hey, they want a picture. How is she doing? So my parents don't really understand what this thing is, social media and numbers and why so many people know you. Hi, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
they
that must
even
make
say,
you laugh. Yeah, that must make you laugh. So I think one of the TV shows I did was on replay.
yeah.
So mama phone nanguvo. My mother phoned me. Hey, and I'm like, oh wow, that will humble you so quickly. When you just like tell your
So
children people
quickly.
I've got. When are you coming home? I need my dishes done.
And I love that so much because it will always bring you back to home. Like Masa says, I end up big so okay, the whole family, yeah, sure, celebrate. Bonang nawe, wonke umuntu. Akuhlangene ukuthi waziwa njengoba ukuthi wenzani kuphi estradini
Yeah, now you
asingeni
have
lapho
the
izisho
context.
zote so and I love that because you really need to be in that space, and the beauty of being at home gaming I can network under big, so I literally disconnect, even like so it's not only a mental thing, but so it's a very peaceful place, and I would like I can doubt that I'd rather be than be
So
at
I want
home.
to
Can you
translate
imagine as
this
I
to my
grow older?
listeners. I know for listeners in Nigeria and Ghana and Kenya. So Leanna's basically saying that, where we come from is called KwaZulu Natal. And I'm sure you've heard of Shaka Zulu. And the word Zulu literally means the heavens. So she's saying when the moment she drives into Zululand, where we come from, there's not even network. And she comes from an area called Underberg. And there is no, they're like, oh, you little Miss Celebrity, you too. Dishes need to get done. And it's about, you can't, what makes you relevant here in the spaces where this is important, your performance, your title, how you show up is important. It all dissipates when you get home because you revert to that state of the essence of you, what makes you you. And I think for me, that usually happens as I drive out of the Orange Free State, which is a province, and you see "Welcome to Zululand." You're just like, okay, nothing else.
Drop mic,
Nothing. Weave the
take
lashes
off the hat.
off. I'm done.
Everything, literally everything. Nothing matters but just the people that you're surrounded by and the moments that you guys share.
I love that. Talking about moments that we share, and I know you're one of my favorite people to follow purely because of the inspiration that you bring. I'm interested to know, what are your top 5 best reads and why? I know it's gonna be rough because it's gonna quote,
Yes. And then, guys, I read a lot. Hey, I read a lot. So ultimately, I read a lot of self-help books, right? And you'll see that many of our celebrities now are writing books, but Mina, it needs to have some sort of development for self. I can't read stories. Like, so you're not gonna hear any of these fiction. No, I read self-development books strictly because of who I am. I think I'm addicted to consuming things that are going to better me. I'm addicted to motivation. I'm addicted to constantly knowing that I can do more, and other people also have that potential, and it's somewhat my job to bring that out of them. Hence why it's like, for me, showing up constantly as my higher self is something that is on top of my list, because I know how that allows other people to feel liberated, to know that they can do the same as well. So my cup constantly needs to be full. So if I can just think from the top of my head, 5 a.m. Club, the beauty of that book, it helped me build, Robin Sharma, helped me build healthy habits, right? It helped me come face to face with consistency and how uncomfortable building habits can be. Like, waking up in the morning is hard, but once you do it consistently and and you can see the results of it, it becomes natural. And I'm not saying that I wake up at 5 a.m. I don't. I'm sleeping at that time. And it's not, for me, 5 a.m. club is not about waking up at 5, but it's how it taught me to build those habits. So sometimes it's easy, guys, when you read like books, for instance, it's not about doing what is being said. It's applying it or taking that information and see how it can be relevant in your life and how you can use it in your life specifically. So that's one. 2, Brene Brown. And I want to say all of them. It's a book because she writes a lot about courage and shame. Dare to Lead. There's Dare to Lead. Oh gosh, yo. And that one about the arena, I forgot the name now, young put, but Brene Brown, she speaks a lot, she writes a lot about courage, she speaks a lot about shame. And I think if you're going to be in a space, or if you decided to be a hyperproductive man or woman, and you're saying that you're not going to sit and wait for things to come, you want to be proactive and get things done, and that's how you want to live your life. And you're going to need a lot of courage. You're going to face a lot of shame. And yeah, that's one. The Year of Yes, Shonda Rhimes.
Shonda.
That one, Shonda Rhimes, that book literally, and I think I read it post COVID, when things were starting to open up. Gangan. What that book did for me, it allowed me to say yes to things that I know that are going to be good for me from career perspective, from personal development perspective, because sometimes you know you can do something, but you're too scared, right? Imposter syndrome. So saying yes to things that you are scared of doing for a whole year, now after a month or so, which you're gonna be comfortable with, saying yes to things. Always you would, okay, yeah, yes, I will get, but you know that it's going to be good
Not
for
afraid.
you, career or whatever else, right? So doing it afraid. Vusi, Tembekwayo, the book Vusi and the Magna Carta, both books, business. If you're going to start a business, there are nice lessons that you can learn there. And then lastly, let's say Mom Judy Dlamini, she's got two books as well. Those books are so good. Guys, those books are so good. I'm just trying to think of the
Equal but
name.
different. Different but
Equal
equal.
but different. And then there's the recent one, Enge Food IKP. There's two of them. Please read those books. And for her, what she does, that she has conversations with top Africans that are doing big things, how they did it, how they are doing it, and what advice they have for young people like myself and you watching. And there's so much that you can learn. Then she's not only speaking to women, she's speaking to men as well. People from Zimbabwe, Zambia, Nigeria, South Africa,
And I must
the
just
works.
say this. So a lot of people, it's interesting because I had a privilege of interviewing her for a project that shocked me that I'm still working on with a number of conversations.
Mm,
So for those of you who might not know, Dr. Judy Dlamini is one of the wealthiest women in Africa, in South Africa.
yes.
And in Africa, if you think Fularusha Alakijo for Africa, that she's a South African equivalent. So a very wealthy woman. And I recall even in my own career, she's someone who influenced my own career to the point where even me doing my PhD, I was like, come on, Dr. Judy.
Mm,
And she was so close because, she comes from our province. So often when
yes,
you're in before
definitely.
the times of access of knowledge, where you know me, I'm a little older than you, Luyanda, but
Yeah.
you had encyclopedias and you had stories of Usman Mani went to Meron Hill and she's done. You're like, yo, Mani, Mwasana, I've got that. Dlamini, I've got their surnames. When I grow up, I want to be
Mm,
like. And for me, that power and the ability that books do to bring the world to your doorstep, I love. And I think what you
mm,
so well is make that a reality for people who might not necessarily be crazy about books. Like
yeah.
I'm one of those persons who's so busy now that I don't have time to read, but I've got time to listen. So like literally when I'm putting
I love that.
listening to a book. I'm cleaning my house, I'm listening. I'm driving, I'm listening because I get
Mm,
to re-immerse myself into the knowledge of others,
yeah.
which I think is
Mm.
powerful.
Yeah, the other book, before I forget, it's The Other Story and Equal but Different. And the beauty of Equal but Different is that, and I love the narrative of it, and why she wrote that book is because you look at myself, you look at Sis Vumi, and you actually think there's so much that sets you apart. Like
Mm.
Aspani, we don't come from the same background, so in that way, there's no way that I could end up where these ladies are, right? And ultimately speaks about that, Huti. Yes, in our differences, we are equal in our differences. There's still that level of, I guess, we share something that's common. And basically, what she's trying to say that there's nothing more special about a Luyanda or a Vumi or a Judy until you unpack our stories of where we come from and why we do certain things. Because ultimately, we are driven by, the same values. It's just that they might show up in a different order in your life than it may in mine. And I always reiterate Lindia Show's when I had a live with him that says that the only thing that's different between you and I, Luyanda, is how hard you're willing to work. It's season as well. What season of your life are you in? And the more you embrace that, the better. But also, it's nothing Muti God was in my neighborhood and not Vusi's or vice versa. But it's literally how hard you're willing to work, season and time. Basically, when it's your time, things are going to happen for you. And there's nothing a Luyanda or a Vusi or Vumi can do to stop that.
I'm here for that content. I cannot think of a better way for us to wrap up our conversation. So, to end our conversation, Luyanda, I'm going to ask you to complete the following sentences. I am a master at.
All right. Speaking
Yeah.
life to people. Yes. Speaking life into people.
What I know for sure is
that I'm going to be hella successful.
Failure is
an opportunity for me to try again, but also an opportunity for me to learn.
My life's work is
purpose. Purpose.
Knowing what I know now, I
can make better decisions. Hi, because if you don't know better, hi guys, you don't do better. No.
Why should Maya Angelou?
Now that I know better, I will do better. So now that I know more, I will
do more.
I can do more and I can do better.
Last and definitely not least, I am.
I'm beautiful, I am bold, I am smart, I'm ready, and I'm capable. Those are some of the affirmations that I wake up to every morning. So that's who I am.
I could not end that on a better note. Ladies and gentlemen, Luyanda Duma. Luyanda, thank you for being on this
podcast. Thank you so much.
I hope you've learned as much as I have from Luyanda Duma, and I will see you at the next installment of Career Conversations with Vumi Msweli.